is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some more Final Fantasy 16 gameplay for you. And man, oh man, it's just like article after article. I know they're out there, but maybe it's not with a franchise that I'm familiar with in terms of having this happen to it. But I just can't remember last time in recent memory a game that's just had so many just terrible articles written on it. As I said, my last episode of this, in terms of why no one takes gaming journalists seriously, they came out of the woodwork for this game, and it's just continuing. I think so much misinformation has been spread, not just among journalists, but a lot of fans too, or if I can even call them fans, because man, the stupidity just shows no bounds. Like, at the end of the day, you know, we are very picky people. We like certain things. Some things resonate with others, and that's perfectly fine. You know, you're not going to have one thing unanimously loved by everything, but man, the dumb articles I've had to read, is hopefully we can get a laugh, because you're going to get a laugh out of this one. Now, the one good thing about this article, at least it's written by a different person, because the last episode, we had like all these articles written by the same person, talking about Final Fantasy 16, and it just made absolutely no sense. I'm about 45 hours into this game right now. I'm having a blast with it. But I came to a shocking revelation. I'm being very sarcastic, but I just thought you guys should know. But unfortunately, I've been duped. I have been duped. And if you have bought and played this game, you've been duped too. Because this article, and obviously, if this article said this, it has to be true. It can't be false. But so for our next episode of Why No One Takes Gaming Journal Serious, we're going to jump right into it. So apparently, and I'll leave the link in the description if you want to check this out for yourself, but apparently Final Fantasy 16 doesn't want to even be a video game. Apparently Final Fantasy 16 is not a video game, according to this article. I mean, of all the dumb things I've heard, is Final Fantasy 16 a Final Fantasy game? Is it an RPG? Is it this? Is it that? Does it hate old fans? Does it do this? Does X, Y, Z, etc., etc., etc.? But now, it's apparently not even a video game. It doesn't even want to be a video game. So apparently, what I've been doing the last 45 hours, I've not been playing a game. Damn, I don't know whether I should be, like, shocked or impressed by that. I've been playing 45 hours of whatever you call this, but let's get right into this. Final Fantasy 16's opening is slow and indulgent, often resents you for trying to play it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it resents you for trying to play it. That's a great way to say it. I have played about 4 hours of Final Fantasy 16, although played is a generous interpretation for what I did with that time. I fought a few things, all gigantic things, to boot. Mostly I have watched. I have watched and watched and watched and listened and never enjoyed. I love narrative games usually, but Final Fantasy 16 is not a narrative game simply because it is loaded with exposition. There's been a lot of discussion about whether Final Fantasy 16 wants to be an RPG or an action game or a combination of both, but at times it feels like it barely wants to be a video game at all. Okay, so once again, this is why I don't think these people say the things they honestly do. Tell me you've never played a JRPG before without telling me you've never played a JRPG before, okay? You know, JRPGs, they have a lot of exposition. They have a lot of cutscenes. They have a lot of narrative. It's because they're very story-driven games. This is like, once again, I said earlier, like, you know, when people were playing, oh, too many cutscenes. Well, duh, what did you think was going to happen? Now, if you liked the cutscene, you weren't being interested in the cutscenes, that would be one thing. If it just wasn't your cup of tea, fine. I can't tell you whether it's good or not. You know, everyone's different. That's not the argument here. The argument here is because you didn't enjoy it, now you're questioning whether, you know, it's a video game at all, and that it's not any of those things. Because honestly, just how you complain about, oh, there's so much exposition and stuff, have you played any type of Final Fantasy game or any JRPG for that matter? Sometimes some have more than others, but like this is par for the course. Like, how is it that, you know, because it has a lot of exposition and cutscenes and stuff, why does that not make it a video game? Like, seriously, like these games, the major reason people play Final Fantasy is for the story and characters. You know, that's the most important thing of anything. And it's very important that they get the story and characters done right, because that's the thing people are going to remember the most of anything else. You're going to have a lot of stuff like that. Like, I don't see how, because there's so much of it. Just because you didn't enjoy it doesn't mean, oh my God, it's not a video game. Because God forbid, I didn't enjoy it. So now I have to question whether it's a game or not. What kind of asinine take is this? Like, seriously. Then they go on to, once again, people can never understand this. They talk about the whole, it's been inspired by Game of Thrones, but because it's inspired by it, it means that if it doesn't do everything that Game of Thrones does, the way Game of Thrones does it, then it's a problem. And they go on basically say Game of Thrones basically was about, power, balance, social inequality, dangers of unchecked cruelty and ambition, blah, 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 blah. And then basically saying that 16 barely does any of that stuff because it barely has, it says, barely has any women, barely any underclass, no real examination of its rulers, and less said about the words, the better. This is much inspired by Game of Thrones as those old memes of Ned Stark are. Like, once again, just because it's inspired doesn't mean it's going to do it bead for bead. Like, seriously. And you keep saying there's barely any... What are you talking about? There's tons of women in it. Like, seriously. Like, you act like there's like one or two characters in this entire game. Like, that's just a lie right there. Barely any underclass. Like, once again, the world in this game is not like our world. Yes, I know they said it was kind of based off it, but just because it's based off, it's not like you have like 20 different like races and stuff like that. You have your monsters and creatures, and you have your humans and stuff, and you have your bearers and stuff like that. Like, I'm sorry if it isn't like what you want the real world, how boring that is, and no real examination of its rulers. Once again, I'm not going to spoil the game, but it takes that stuff in chunks. It, like, for every act, it usually focuses on the next character you're going to go up against and the next threat, etc., etc. But, like, once again, they keep getting this whole confused. Like, it's not going to be Game of Thrones and it's inspired by it. It's not going to be a clone. Like, geez, but I got news for you. A lot of things are inspired by a lot of things. I know it's shocking, right? I mean, nowadays, I just feel like these companies should never tell them what they're inspired by, because as soon as you say that, they're going to use that against you for whatever stupid, idiotic reasons they can come up with. But whatever, moving on. And the funniest part about all this is when you realize this person writing this has only played the demo. And they're just complaining, oh my God, I don't get to do anything in the demo. Everything is just such a drag. Playing as anybody feels forced. You can't do this. They finally give a crutch for gameplay. A demo's purpose is to give you a taste. And I'd rather have the demo, which I thought was ingenious for them to release the demo, so you go through a demo of hearing all the lore. Cause in JRPG, it feels like the person never played a JRPG before in their life. Usually the beginning has a lot of dialogue, a lot of stuff. You're trying to learn the world, understand what's going on in the world, all the characters, all the terms. I think it was ingenious to do that for the demo, and then have the demo carry over, so when you start the game, you don't have to go through that. You can just start right into the game, right into the so-called gameplay and action, because apparently there's none of that. You just sit back and watch, and yes, there's a lot of cutscenes, but you know what? It's just like Doom. There's a lot of shooting. That's kind of the way it's supposed to be. I don't know what the heck you were sitting there, and then they're like, well, everyone says it's better, and maybe it'll get better, but something just will click, and maybe I'll get it. No, I don't think you're ever going to get it, because then they're like, well, this whole slow burn of just watching stuff and, not anything good, because apparently all the cutscenes apparently suck according to them, and they're just like, but it is the blueprint, it needs to get over itself. No, maybe you need to get over yourself. Maybe you just don't need to play these games, because maybe you're just not a fan of JRPGs. I hate it when you get people that complain about a genre or a game being what it's supposed to be. Like, give me an actual problem. It's like me complaining a racing game is racing, oh God, a JRPG has cutscenes and stuff. Like, wow. I don't know, but hopefully this person plays games that, I don't know, better suited to their taste, because they clearly ain't no JRPG fan. That's for damn sure. But nonetheless, that is going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to hear from you all later. Peace.